good morning, and welcome to Glasgow Rangers Nation, your everyday Rangers news channel. Well, we're going to talk today about a number of things. Obviously, as Monday passed, no announcement. As I predicted that he would still be in a job come the end of Monday, and then come the end of this weekend, he will be the manager when we take on Hearts on Sunday in what is largely a meaningless fixture now, a dead rubber, a game that doesn't matter anymore because the league's done. He'll still be manager at the end of the season, and as I said to you on the video yesterday, if you haven't caught the video I said released yesterday, I've released a video which I made on the way on the as I was getting ready for work, funnily enough. Just saying that, basically Patrick Stewart has come out and said that Phillipe Clement will be here until the end of next season at very least, and with his comment post-match to supporters where he said the time to judge Phillipe Clement is at the end of next season, basically meaning that the board, the CEO and the whatever Fraser Thornton is, are fully committed to Phillipe Clement at least until the end of next season. I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate Celtic on their treble next season as well, if Clement is still the manager. So look, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about Boydy. We'll mention the Scottish Cup draw. I know we're not in it, but interesting to see who Queen's Park will play in the next round. I think it's probably the closest I've ever come to hosting a podcast with Kris Boyd as well. A little picture of him up there. So no, that way. You know, it's really hard to get this right. That way, there he is. Anyway, look, we're going to talk about that. We'll talk about a number of things, obviously, around Rangers at this moment in time. Its next game up for Rangers is Hearts away at Tynecastle on Sunday. We will be bringing you a live watch-along if you can bear to watch it. You know what, Rangers will probably come out and play brilliantly because it's a game with no pressure anymore because the league's over. So, I think if you remember from the past, whenever the league is done and dusted, we seem to start playing at that point, whenever there's no pressure on us or nothing to actually achieve anymore. We'll talk, obviously, a little bit about that as well. Look, let's get it out of the way, shall we? The Scottish Cup draw obviously was made after Hearts knocked out St Mirren on penalties. So the quarterfinals even, are Hearts Dundee, Livingston St Johnstone, Aberdeen Queen's Park. Queen's Park, our conquerors, go to Pittodrie, and I wish them all the very best. I hope they absolutely smash the Sheep. And Celtic Hibernian. Never has there been so much green and white scum in one place at one time. Put it this way, Parkhead will stink that weekend even worse than it normally does. Right, so look, let's move it along. Let's not reside on something we're not part of anymore. Basically Celtic's treble, procession, obviously, that will now take place. Right, so Kris Boyd, what has Kris Boyd been saying? What is the whole gen behind Kris Boyd? Kris Boyd has been talking about the whole situation at the club, and I think Boydy sometimes does a bit of the pantomime villain, does a bit of the wind up, especially with Chris Sutton. And I've said in the past that I think when it comes to Sky Sports and it comes to punditry, I think there was a kind of a need for the sort of the pundits that watch Scottish football to kind of grow up a little bit and start behaving a bit more responsibly. Michael Stewart included in that as well, who I think is one of the biggest bellends in the world. But no, look, I mean, Kris Boyd obviously is a man who cares deeply about Rangers. He's a Rangers man through and through. He loves the club. You can see that, and you can see it hurts when Rangers don't do well. You can see, that it clearly upsets him. That when Rangers are doing badly, that he gets to him because he wants to see the club succeed. He wants to see the club win. That is Kris Boyd all over. And he kind of, has talked about the fact that in his opinion, and I think, rightly so, he's right with what he says. He says that basically that Rangers fans... Actually, let me qualify this. He says that Rangers fans are sick to death of Phillipe Clement's excuses. I would say, to qualify that slightly, and say that real Rangers fans are fed up of Phillipe Clement's excuses. Real Rangers fans want Phillipe Clement sacked. Real Rangers fans are not prepared to accept this situation. Real Rangers fans want this club back at the top of Scottish football. I would say that there is within the fan base now an infection, and that's what I would call it, an infection of mediocrity from the happy clappers who are happy to settle for second place every single season. In some sort of false belief that you follow the diatribe of you can't keep sacking managers. Well, yes, you can if they're shit. And I want to repeat what was said by Patrick Stewart in the statement he gave about a month ago that seems to be completely lost on a number of people. People say, Clement's only in a job because we can't afford to sack him, which is absolute rubbish, because we can afford to sack him because the money is ring-fenced and is there, if needed, to sack the manager. That was made utterly clear by Patrick Stewart in that comment that he made a month ago. So it's a very false narrative that needs to be done away with now. Clement is not staying in his job purely because we can't afford to sack him. Clement is staying in his job because this board back him and believe that he is the man to take the club forward. Wrongly, I think, in every real Rangers fan's estimations. But what did Boydy have to say? I think that's and like I said, Boydy is a man who cares. He's a man who cares. He's a man who loves this club. He's a man who wants this club to be back at the top of the Scottish game. He's a man who hates to see his team struggle and his team lose. He says, in terms of progression, there is nothing for Rangers fan to feel optimistic about Phillipe Clement carrying this club forward. Phillipe Clement has stumbled across a few things this season and he has went with it. He's right, 100% correct on that opening paragraph of what he said. There is no progression. Progression is not there. He's been here for 18 months. There is no style of play. There is no shape to the shape. There is no heart there. There is no battle there. There is no bottle there. It just genuinely is the most turgid, boring, useless, horrible football I've ever seen in my entire life domestically. Yes, he's had some success in Europe because the style or whatever it is we play seems to work in Europe, but it doesn't work in Scotland. So he's right, Boydy, 100% right in that first statement. Now, Phillipe Clement on Sunday said that he didn't put Finlay Curtis on because he didn't want to put him into that pressure situation. So instead, obviously, he put Ridvan on, who is not a left winger, at left wing and expected him to play. Again, yet another example of Phillipe Clement playing a player out of position and expecting him to do well. He ruined Fabio Silva last season by doing that, playing him on the left wing when Silva is quite clearly a 10 or a 9. Silva, who is now scoring 1 in 2 in La Liga, including goals against Real Madrid and Barcelona. Do the maths. Hams Rigman, who has had his confidence absolutely shattered by Phillipe Clement by putting him out on the left wing where he struggled when Dessers was playing up top, basically taking a striker who was averaging a goal pretty much every 97 minutes and sticking him out wide and absolutely ripping his confidence to shreds. Well done, Phillipe Clement. Amazing man management. Good lad. This is what Boydy had to say about the youngsters. He said, the youngsters at Old Trafford, you kind of got the feeling they were proving a point on giving youth a chance. They went on and did really well. Now the Rangers fans are saying, give the youth a chance to play. Phillipe Clement had done that at the weekend with Bailey Rice and then took him off at half time because he needed a more experienced player. So there was a lack of trust from the manager to the players. Boydy's spot on again. He hooked Bailey Rice at half-time, yet Bailey was far from the worst player on that pitch. Diamonde was far worse than him. He kept Diamonde on. For me, it was the wrong substitution. And for me, again, like Boydy, it shows an absolutely massive lack of trust in our young players. The fact that the first change is let's hook the youngster off because it's all his fault. He's shit. He's not playing well. Get him off. And he went and put Curtis on. This is a lad who, looked good against Manchester United, for goodness sake. Did well against Manchester United, an EPL club, with a squad worth over £700 million. Yet, we can't put him on against a squad that's probably worth £7.50 in Queen's Park. Yes, Phillipe Clement, that is brilliant man management. And what does that say to the youngster? That, instead of you, who is a left winger, right winger, is a winger, I'd rather put on a left back who to play out of position, a more defensive player when you're losing 1-0 rather than a more attacking player. I mean, what does that say to Finlay Curtis? I mean, that basically to me says that if I was Finlay Curtis, shit man, I've made a massive mistake signing a new contract at this club. I'm going to have no future at this club because this manager is a gutless, spineless, useless piece of trash. So yeah, I agree with Boydy on what he says there. Boydy then went on to say, ultimately Phillipe Clement speaks about budgets when he is coming up against clubs that are superior to Rangers in Europe or Celtic, but doesn't flip it the other way. Which is right. Clement talks when we lose to Celtic or when we lose European games to bigger teams with bigger budgets. Well, perhaps not bigger teams is perhaps the wrong word, but teams with bigger budgets than us. It straight away comes out, that we're not competing on a level playing field. Of course, we're expected to lose against teams that have massive budgets over us. Yet, he doesn't ever seem to use that when it comes or realise that applies both ways. So when we play, when we play teams who have squads worth 15, 20 million and we're worth 80 million, say 4 times, 5 times the value, it works both ways, Phillipe. How is it we're not absolutely smashing and dominating them? Like you say that clubs who have more money than us will when they play us. To me, it's kind of, I don't know, it's ridiculous. It's a stupid comment. You want your way, but you don't want the truth to come out. Because, to be honest with you, he's just clueless. Absolutely clueless. He talks about the chances created. Nobody cares how many shots you had on goal. The Rangers fans are fed up of Phillipe Clement's excuses. I mean, he's right, Boydy. No one gives a shit how many shots you had on goal. It's how many goals you scored. You could have 30 shots on goal and score 1. And then the other team could have 5 shots on goal and score 2. And they win. And the fact that you had 6 times as many shots as them means absolutely jack all in the whole scheme of things. And on the league table, there's not an extra column for we had more shots games. That doesn't exist. It doesn't matter. It's putting the ball in the back of the net. And like I said, if one team has 40 shots on goal and scores 1 goal, and another team has 2 shots on goal and scores 2 goals, then the team that scored the 2 goals wins, despite the fact they had 20 times less chances than the other team. It doesn't matter. It genuinely doesn't matter. I thought we've seen, haven't we? We've seen. I mean, the whole thing about the Parkhead game when we got battered and he comes out and says we had better stats than them, or our stats were at least equal with them and we were the better team. I mean, absolutely delusional. And then, he comes out after that 3-3 last season at Ibrox, where we were outplayed for 60, 70 minutes that Old Firm game, and says we had a moral victory. I mean, can you imagine Sir Walter coming out after a draw against Celtic and saying it was a moral victory for Rangers? Of course you can't. Walter would be embarrassed. I mean, Walter would be humiliated now saying this. He would really genuinely be absolutely disgusted. I got a feeling that he would absolutely rip Clement to shreds, like Boydy is. But he's right. He's absolutely spot on, Kris Boyd, in what he's got to say about the manager. This manager has not got a Scooby-Doo. He does not know what he's doing. He is genuinely lost. Absolutely lost. Boydy went on to say this. He said, the reality is that Celtic are 13 points ahead of Rangers. They already have the League Cup in the bag. Rangers lost in the final. Queen's Park knocked Rangers out of the Scottish Cup. That's factual. You can't deny that. It's not been good enough. He then went on to say, if you look at the league table, it doesn't lie. 13 points behind, having already beaten Celtic. Lost the League Cup final to Celtic, and now we are knocked out of the Scottish Cup. We aren't even in the middle of February, and domestically the season is over already for Rangers. I mean, it's damning, isn't it? It's absolutely damning. And he's absolutely correct. He is absolutely correct. I would love to sit down with a member of the board and ask them how they think that this has improved, why they think that Phillipe Clement is the right man for the job. For me, the board are seeing Coppen and Clement as the fall guys for them, because they're trying to cut costs. They're trying to obviously, reduce the wage bill, which I agree needs to be done to some degree. But they're using Coppen and Clement to do it, and that's the scapegoat. And they're hoping that all the blame, obviously, around this will drop on Phillipe Clement and Niels Coppen and not on the board. Well, sorry, Douglas Park and your son Jabba the Hutt, it applies to you as well. The blame applies fully to you as well. It applies to all of them, really. Realistically, they're all to blame. There isn't one innocent party amongst them. But look, in terms of what Boydy says, he's spot on. He speaks for all the real, I want to emphasise that word real, Rangers fans who want this manager gone. But unfortunately, as I said, he will still be here next season. He will still be here at the end of next season, and Celtic will have won 2 trebles in 2 years at the end of that period if he remains. It will not get any better. He will not improve it. He is incapable of improving it. So I don't honestly know where we go from here. I genuinely don't. We've kind of reached an impasse where season's over. It doesn't really matter what happens in the rest of the games and the rest of the season now, because we're not going to win the league. We're not going to win the Scottish Cup because we're not in it anymore. We've lost the League Cup, so we're going to come away from this season absolutely trophyless. And for a club like Rangers to have only won 3 trophies in 13 years is absolutely disgusting. Absolutely unacceptable. Unacceptable. Look, the rest of the season is basically now a training match for every single game. For me, I would like to see more youngsters involved. I'd like to see more youngsters played. I'd like to see the back permanently of James Tavernier and Cyril Dessers. Just stick him in the B team. Don't want to see him again. Don't need to see him again. Play B team players. Play under 21s. Play under 18s. Let's see what the youth can do. Because the season's done. The season's over. Season's finished. You know, Celtic are not going to lose 5 games. And I'll tell you this, if you honestly believe that the Rangers can still win this league, you are absolutely and completely, utterly delusional. It isn't going to happen. It will not happen. They will not lose 5 games this season. Even if they lose 2 to us, you've still then got to find 3 other teams to take points off them. And I don't mean draws, I mean beat them. And we've pretty much then got to remain perfect for the rest of the season, which we all know isn't going to happen. It's just so disheartening. And I'll tell you something, I go from kind of disappointment to absolute massive irate anger to just calm resignation to pure unadulterated shite. Genuinely, I don't know what to say. Look, Sunday we play Hearts at Tynecastle. We'll bring you a live watch along. It'll be great to have as many of you in the live chat as possible to kind of share your opinions on the game. If you can bear to watch another Rangers game, it's going to be tough. You know, it's an away day at Tynecastle in Edinburgh. Tough game. Of course it'll be a tough game because every away game is a tough game for Rangers because our away record is so absolutely shocking. I mean, I don't know. People say, well, you know, one result is not enough to sack a manager. Well, how about the away record being one of the worst away records in Scotland, and the cup final and the cup defeat, you know, and losing to Celtic in the League Cup final, and the fact the league's done and dusted by February. I think that's pretty much enough of a dossier to get rid of a manager. But I'll be honest with you. I think Sunday will be a very hard, tough match. You know, they're going to be bang up for it after going through in the cup. They're going to send blood when it comes to Rangers, and Neil Cutch will have his team raring to go. Absolutely raring to go on Sunday. Look, I'll be honest with you, even if we were to lose to Hearts on Sunday, does Clement get the sack? No, of course he doesn't. He's Teflon. I think, you know, they once said, didn't they, that post-nuclear holocaust, the only surviving thing will be a cockroach. I think the answer, you know, you could actually say, if there's a huge nuclear war and a nuclear explosion, the only 2 things that would survive are cockroaches and Phillipe Clement. Quite what that's saying about Phillipe Clement, I don't know, but I think that's pretty true. I just want to also talk about, I was watching X last night, watching a video online, one of our fans having a go at the manager, absolutely giving him 6-0, giving him absolute dog's abuse, and rightly so, he deserves it. And the security guards at Ibrox giving this poor guy a hard time. If you're one of those security guards and you're watching the channel tonight, or today, or this week, or whenever you find this video, if you're one of the security guards that went and basically had a go at that guy, you are a disgrace. You are an absolute disgrace, and clearly not Rangers fans. Clearly you're either Tims or you don't watch football. So if you're one of those security guards, you're a disgrace. Look, we go now into this game. We've got to make the best of it with what we've got. People talk about the players not being good enough. I dispute that. I think there are some players who are not good enough. Certainly, you know, don't get me wrong. There are some players who are exceptionally poor. Nadim Bayrami, not good enough. James Tavernier, not good enough. Cyril Dessers, not good enough. You know, to name just a few. But, you know, going forward, there's a core of a good squad there. This is what I don't get. There is a core of a good squad there, and it's the way they're being coached, organised and motivated and sent out there to play that is costing this club. It really is. You know, you look at the core of the squad. You look at the likes of Hamza Igerman. You look at Yanis Hadji. You look at Václav Černý. You look at Ridvan Yilmaz, John Suter. You know, you look at players of that calibre. Dujon Sterling when he's fit. Nicholas Raskin. That's a core of a good team. Yet Clement's awful tactics, his inability to motivate them, and his inability to get the best out of some average players is costing, you know, this club massively, hugely. All right, guys, let me know what you think of what Boydy has had to say. Let me know what your comments are on that. Please obviously drop me a comment down below. Fantastic day yesterday for views. Let's keep it up. Let's keep going. Let's keep growing the channel. Anyway, on the way out, a couple of things you can do for me. Number one, smash that sub. It's free, remember. This is a no paywall channel. After you've smashed the, after you've done the smash the sub, obviously ring the bell, like the video, share the video, do all that great stuff for me. And you know what we've got to remember, guys, in these tough times, we are the people.